We're on YouTube. We're not on FaceSpace yet.
No, I usually get the notification.
FaceSpace will be there in a second. Now we should be on FaceSpace, or pretty close to FaceSpace. Standing by. Did you get the notification yet, Bradley?
I did not. Not yet.
No. Oh, all right. We fighting with Facebook again? We were fighting with Facebook last time. Very annoying.
Let's see.
It's so ridiculous that this is our process, but it is our process.
Anyone that says we're not.
Yeah, we're up.
You're up.
We're up. We're here.
All right.
We got him. I just called our managing broker. He's like, "We on?" I'm like, "No, you're missing. It's a 10:30 start. You're leaning into every stereotype of real estate."
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm late. I'm very busy. Holy crap. Anyway, we've got Westcott this week. It is cold brew with a broker, which he penned himself.
Yeah.
I thought, let's do cold brew with a broker, which is perfect. So we're going to talk to Jason Westcott, of course, about all things real estate, his long career in real estate, his journey to Keller Williams. How did you, Nate schmoozed you?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Nathan Dickey.
Yep.
And his
he was OPTL MCA.
all the things. No. He was
No,
never
no.
MCA.
He was never MCA.
He was never MCA. We would be closed. All the electricity that we need to run all this stuff would not be here. No offense. He does a great job, but he should not be anywhere near the abacus. And if you don't know what abacus is, ask your grandparents. We've got Bradley Kelly here. He's going to tell us why the rates haven't moved back to 2%. If you have not yet worked with Brad Kelly and his team at Movement Mortgage, said with love as your friend and your coach, you're doing it wrong. We have allied resources in this building who are here to help us. They're here to enhance our profitability. Bradley is our platinum sponsor. I don't care whose feelings I'm hurting. He and his team do the most for our market center. If you've eaten sustenance under this roof, it was from Brad. The irony in what I'm about to say is this is called Coffee with a Capper, and he's never bought anybody a coffee, but I'm going to stop picking on him for that because he's bought everybody lunch. And if you're like, I've never been fed by Brad, well, then you're doing it wrong because that means you haven't been to anything here at the market center. Because 99.9% of the meals that happen in this building happen because Brad and his team are amazing, and they've been partners with us since how long, Brad? Like you've been working alongside Nathan. I know you can't count the women's prison, but go way back.
Jay and I were just trying to figure that out a new agent orientation. It's like, so what? I started
July 1st, 2004.
And I think I started in right at the beginning of February.
You was here before me.
Of 2005.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was here before me.
You have been here forever. So Brad, talk to us about what's going on. Yeah. Well, give us some good numbers. I feel at least our market center is certainly experiencing more activity. Is that something that you're seeing across the entire marketplace, or is that
no, it's picked
specific to
up.
us?
It's picked up, and I think it's summer. Like that's normal for around here, that we see a pickup there. I mean, I also think rewind back to, beginning of the year, like we were leading into this year, really thinking that we were going to see rates come down, not so, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard me talk about rates. Like I'm not trying to crush dreams with this, but if we see 3% again or 4% again, like there's something wrong, like that's not a real thing,
I mean, Ukraine was fighting with Iran at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, basically the reason like the rates ever got as low as they did last time was artificial in nature to help support our economy. Okay. That was during COVID. And as a result, the inflation came with it, and we're paying for that, a little bit at this point. But I mean, where we're at this point, say sixes, high sixes, somewhere in that, mid high sixes, depending on how you kind of look at it and things of that nature. I mean, that's still a really good rate historically, and I hear a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, when they go back down to like, and it's like, no, they're not. If they go back down to, a 5 on front, that's really good. Like,
delicious.
I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Jay's been around forever. Like with this, like, I mean, before COVID,
Wow.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Shots fired is
Well,
right.
he's a little bit younger than I am, just a little bit. I mean,
So who was there? So Joseph was there. Mary was there. Jesus was napping.
That's right.
But it was beautiful.
Tim was
Bob
definitely
Kelly, God rest his soul. Bob Kelly was the co-broke. Yep. It was great.
He was co-broken it.
Yeah, I mean,
first STR.
That in what we saw earlier this year when they shot back up with the Iran thing started, that was driven off of inflation concerns in oil prices, things like that, and that's what you're really kind of see. Like I was with Jay, what was it, yesterday, the day before that we were together, and I was like, oh, something just happened because rates went, the mortgage-backed securities made an adjustment, so like you can almost track what's going on in the Middle East right now based on what mortgage-backed securities are doing, because every time something moves a little bit, it's like, oh, that just happened or this just happened.
Yeah.
I think what we ran into, the beginning of the Iran thing kind of shocked everybody. Like, oh my God, what's going on? Is this going to be the next world war? Blah, blah, blah. And I think what we've kind of run into now is things have kind of stabilized, and we're basically at a spot where as that settles down, the rates will come down, or, if it escalates, knock on wood, I don't think we're going to see them shoot up as much as they did before, because we kind of already saw the ramifications of that earlier this year, so and that's basically where we're at, and plenty of coaches, and I'm sure Timmy says this to you guys all the time. I mean, you got to sell what you got, right? So what we got is sixes, and we'll go sell those, and close houses and stay busy. As long as the people that are buying houses aren't freaking out, like, oh my God, like what's going on? That's when we see a dip. Usually it's if it seems somewhat stable, and like things aren't going to drastically get worse all of a sudden, and everybody's going to lose all their equity in their properties around here, which I can say wholeheartedly we're not. That I think you're going to see continued purchase activity.
Well, the other piece of that too, if you zoom out and do the 30,000-foot drone shot, it's over the 30-year average. 6 is pretty like the two again. The two is such two was an anomaly.
Well,
two was a huge anomaly.
People will throw $20,000 on a Cap One card at 25%, but they won't borrow money at 6.
Yep. But I get the dinner points. Then I get to go on the cruise.
That's right.
Then I make the poor decisions. Then I get the tattoo. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean,
interesting.
Like, what else is that low? Like, what I mean, occasionally you get a car loan that's got a special going on that's low, but other than that, like, I mean, there's nothing else that you're borrowing money that's that low. So I mean, it kind of is what it is. But I also get it. It's a big investment. It's the biggest investment of your life. So
yes,
I see both sides of it. But yeah, no, it's where we want the rates to hang in that 5-6 range, because if they're lower than that, then you're not making any money on your investments, because that's the other side of the equation.
Correct.
Have you seen an inordinate uptick in originations?
There was a big bump when things kind of settled down the first time over there.
Okay.
I think it's slowed down. We usually see, and I mean, I think Jay and you probably can, also, give your 2 cents on it. But my experience is around the 4th of July, things slow down. Like there's that ramp up to summer, it gets super busy, you're getting those deals closed and whatnot. And then if you're not pre-approved and doing it by the 4th of July, it gets slow a little bit because you got summer vacations again, and then you're dealing with, once people get over that, they start getting active again and buying houses, August, September type of thing. So I think we're seeing good traffic right now. It's, things are moving along, and, I think good activity for what we're dealing with out there in the market.
We had a ridiculously cold winter. They threw around some stat about coldest since the 70s. I was there. I've got pictures. They're sepia tone. We'll talk about it later. But I think that's going to give us another extended fall. We've had the blessing of a few extended falls, and having what feels like summer-like activity straight through chicken giving, God willing. So
I mean, I would throw in too. I mean, I agree with Brad. Like, we typically do slow down in the this month because I think two things. I don't know if it's so much the clients. I think the agents take their foot off a little bit. You know, you guys, they need a break. Right?
Summer, yeah.
You know, we've both been agents, you know, and there is that week where you're like, you know what, I'm going to jet out Thursday early and I'm not coming back till Monday because I deserve it. I just closed 20 deals this year. But, you know, as far as the numbers go, you start paying attention to what the monthly meetings are. I mean, we're going to see some pretty staggering numbers as far as what this market center done for contracts written. Just contracts written, going back to what Brad said, you know, so that June, you know, end of May, 1st of June, all through June, contracts written is going to be really high. My guess, and the numbers ain't out because we're July 10th, but I would say in the, you know, the July numbers in August will be a downtick because that's just, you know, that's just how it is. But I don't think it's so much the buyers. I think it's more the agents just taking a little bit of time, and rightfully so. But I think you're gonna see that in the numbers, and paying attention to those numbers will determine the market you're in. And going back to what you were saying, the 10-year thing and the rates and all the rest of it, I had the new agent orientation yesterday, which I gave a shout out to Brad, because when you're building a team, just quick shout out for Brad here. When you're building a team, you want somebody that you can call that knows the underwriting of a 203K streamline, you know, conventional. You know, people are like, oh, I have a conventional loan. I'm like, well, is it 80-20, 50-50, 95-5? Those are all different requirements. So having somebody like Brad to be able to answer those questions is huge, you know? But going back to the contract side, I think we're going to see an influx, and the little peeps that we have in Massachusetts are telling us that with FIFA going on, the mass market's going to be the fall, because a lot of people around, they're not calling it Gillette, but for this, I'm going to call it Gillette.
Yep.
That area, that Northborough,
The
Attleboro,
Rays,
Foxborough, they are Airbnb-ing STNR in their properties because they're making $10,000 a week. And what's happening is once FIFA ends in the next, you know, what are we in the? We're in the quarterfinals coming into them, right? So
It's all wrapping up this weekend, is it not? Yeah.
You're going to see
Wimbledon wraps up too. Yep.
Yeah, you're going to see those properties hitting the market. Those people are going to cash out, and they're probably going to come north because we are such a better bang for the buck. So it's going to be
Speaking of bangs
interesting.
and bucks, I'm putting out a huge prediction on the amount of Scottish kids that'll be born in the next 9 months in New England. They came, they drank, they had,
and they're American citizens.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the amount of women that were just all over the internet, just like, they're so nice. I'm like, yep.
Yes,
we
we
are.
are.
Some guys definitely enjoyed New England.
That's
For sure. Brad, 396-3198, 603-396-3198. If you have questions about anything when it comes to mortgages, and if you have not yet had a conversation with Brad and his team about what he and his team can do, admittedly, Brad will nod right now on cue. They do not do all financial products. They do most financial products, and that's why you need to also have other lenders working with you. And mortgage lenders, for that matter. The big banks, I'll say it, I hope they're all listening, I'm not going to name them. The big banks are not your friend. And your buyer client telling you that they have white glove service with their big bank where their entire portfolio is, of course they feel that way because they haven't experienced that they are not your friend. Brad Kelly's a phone call away. Brad Kelly lives here. Brad Kelly has to see you in the hallway, and Brad Kelly gets stuff done. So please let Brad and Kelly and little Dickie do their job for you and your clients. It will be so much easier for you. I know I've rung this bell a million times. Pettigrew said, and Pettigrew's been doing this for 12 years, he said his cleanest deals are when he uses Bradley and Ryan and Jenny Kopp. Maybe it's because they're 42 feet away from each other and they all have to see you on a regular basis. And, I don't know, what's the added? Oh, they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
You're not taking a flyer on somebody. So I think if you're going to be smart about your business and you want to build that team and you feel like you don't have leverage, there's 3 pieces right there: title, insurance, and lending, all under the same roof, all invested in the success of this market center. I can't say it enough. So Brad's going to hang out. Brad's up in NoCo. He is about 42 feet away from the brewery. That's why he bought his condo where he did.
That's right.
He can't hear me say that, so it's fine.
It's a half mile. Come on.
It's the second best day in his life as a boat owner. He sold his boat.
First and last.
The boat is gone, but he wanted to be here. I know, because he probably wants to talk about hockey hijinks. So we're gonna start there. I want everybody to get caught up. I know a lot of people know you and love you. Not everybody knows the whole Jason Luke Westcott story. I threw Luke in for your dad.
My dad.
Yeah. So give it to us. Like get us from high school graduation to this conversation. But you're gonna back up because we want the hockey stories.
Okay. So really quick, I'll give you some. So I'm not from New Hampshire originally. I grew up in the Middlesex area.
Oh my God, he's a masshole.
I'm a masshole.
Crazy.
Okay. And I grew up in an area where it's Acton, Boxborough, Hudson, Maynard area, about 17, 18 miles just dead west of Boston. So
At the end of 290, kid.
at the end of 290 and Route 2.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
there. So my dad is not an American citizen. So my dad's from Canada, came to this country, served the Marines and the whole nine. But my dad's an avid hockey player. Probably one of the best hockey players I've ever played with. And I've played with some real talent. But my old man is, in his prime, was my old man came down to a high school hockey practice and put on a show at 50 years old that, some Mikey Forbes, Mike LeBlanc. I mean, these are all people Brad knows. And he just schooled all of us. We were 18, he was 50. So growing up with like that kind of talent, my dad was also a coach. So my dad coached a team, and out of the 20 kids on his Bantam team, all of them either went to the NHL or D1 college. Tom Barrasso, for instance, was the goaltender. Sweeney from the Bruins played on that team. Like, there was just a phenomenal talent of kids, and my dad went and played on
Don
hockey.
or Bob? Don?
The older one. So
Bob
Don.
Swoop?
Bob Swoop, yeah.
Okay.
So growing up, these kids were just great kids, and I was on the ice with them as like 7, 8 year olds. So, things got different. My mom fell in love with the seacoast. I move up here.
Didn't fall in love with your dad. Just
No, not my father. She's like, nah.
There's a guy
Yeah.
at the seacoast. I'm going to marry him because I love that. I love where he's standing.
Maybe ice will pick up my husband as I come across the border. No, just kidding.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we moved to Portsmouth, and at the time, Portsmouth hockey, Brad knows this, was horrendously bad. My brother makes the high school varsity team as a freshman. My old man's like, that's not right. And the coach says, we haven't won a game in 14 years. So my dad's like, we're moving. So we settle in Dover. My parents buy a house in Dover. I am 7th grade at that time. My brother's a freshman. Now, my brother is a year older than me, but he's a freshman in high school. I'm in 7th grade. He skipped a few grades for anybody that doesn't know that my brother's a genius. He is. So I start playing, but my dad's shipping me back to Mass for youth hockey because he's like, youth hockey here is terrible. So I jump on the high school hockey team as a freshman, and I make the varsity team, but I'm a little guy, and so I played Dover High hockey, JV, and varsity. I get a varsity letter my freshman year, and blah blah blah. I go on to play a lot of hockey. The funny part is that I know Brad because there's a river that runs through Dover. On one side is St. Thomas, the other side's Dover High. Well, he's laughing. I play for Dover High. Brad plays for St. Thomas.
Yeah.
And like anything, we all know each other. We know who's who, right? So in the summertime, they have this team. It's called the Seacoast Selects. And Mr. B was running it one year. There's been a couple coaches. Well, one year I wind up playing with Brad. And so I knew Brad.
You two jackasses were on the same team?
Yeah, for 1 year. Yeah.
Oh,
I think his junior year, my sophomore year, I think it was. It was me, Mikey LeBlanc, and Scott Crockett, him, Johnny Clark. There's a few guys. Yeah, we played together 1 year, and I'll be honest with you, Brad's the same kid as Brad's 50-year-old and 17-year-old, same kid. Yeah, he was not nice. So that gets me through the hockey high school. After high school, I played junior hockey for a team called the Granite State Stars. I get recruited to play for that. We win the EGH, so the Hockey East Junior Hockey League Championship.
Yep.
I then move on, and I say, you know what? I think I'm going to give this a pretty good go. So the coach at the time was Toby O'Brien, and Toby was he played the NHL for a hot second. So he was pretty an advocate of getting me into what's called the Q. So I played for the Greyhounds up in Toronto, which is where Wayne Gretzky played. And I will tell you that every level that you play, and I say this all the time, and this is why I am who I am. This is why I kind of want to go down this road. Every level that you play, you drop. Your mastery drops. So high school hockey, meet Brad was the big guy at St. Thomas. I was one of the lead scorers at Dover, throughout the years. And then now all of a sudden I play for the Granite State Stars, which is the next level. I become, top 5 goal scorer on the team.
Yeah.
I go to the Q. I become a top scorer on the team. Right now I'm like, I'm mid-pack. I'm top forward, but I got a couple defensemen behind me, and defensemen don't score a lot of goals. And I'm like, man, what's going on? My old man's like, you got to put effort in. So I'm hitting the gym. I'm trying to gain weight. Now, mind you, I'm a big dude now, but when I was playing, I was 5'10", 170 pounds-ish.
Yeah.
So that's a little guy in the 90s.
Yep.
This Eric Lindros, 6'3", Brad Kelly. That's who they wanted. They wanted kids like, the farm boy. So I'm getting throttled every game. And, I get called up to go play for the we're called the Bulldogs, Montreal Canadiens. Like,
Sacre bleu.
Yeah, we're talking like, so for anybody that doesn't kind of know hockey, because hockey's a little different, it's like AAA baseball, so it's not would be like, so what's below the Red Sox? You got the Red Sox, then you have
the Woo Sox, Worcester.
the Woo Sox, and
right?
then who's after below them?
Then you're going down to
Is it the Sea Dogs then?
Sea Dogs are in the mix. You'd also be down in the Georgia area. There's a team down in Georgia.
Yeah, so I'm like that level,
Yep.
right? Where you're getting paid like $550 a month.
Yep.
But you're a pro hockey player.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So yeah, and you're
Young
can't eat.
blood.
Yeah. Diener.
Young blood.
So you know,
They pay you a stipend and you live in somebody's house.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Stipend.
Yep.
So what
That's
you know,
where the term hockey mom came from.
yes. Yeah. Puck bunnies. But we'll leave that. That's
my
another
God.
day. So,
I love that you said that.
yeah. So anyway, so I'm playing and you know, at the time I'm dating this girl and, you know, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. Every night I'm getting my head kicked in. And as you start going up, they're like, hey, maybe when you're in the corner, you throw so-and-so a jab. Now you're becoming a goon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
shoe bottom all
you know,
of a sudden.
and like Brad Marchand is like an anomaly. A guy that's 5'10" is not a goon and a goal scorer. Like this kid is,
he's an
you know,
antagonist.
Correct.
And
Brad will tell you. I mean,
water bug.
you know, 100 years of the NHL, there's been one Brad Marchand. So it's one of those things where I was like, I don't think I want to do this, you know? What do I really be in life? And my brother's telling me like, hey, you got to grow up, like da. You know, I refer that to like the 50-year-old guy that's trying to make a band or an album. It's like, dude, it's over.
Yeah.
So,
Dear Gary.
Yeah, dear Gary.
Well, look,
ahead,
I'll jump in real quick. This is what when I was coaching my kids. This is what we said to everybody. It all leads to the same place.
It all leads to men's league. That's right. You're all drinking beer in the parking lot and talking about how you used to be good at junior B. So, you know, I make the decision that I'm going to get out. Now, at the time, I'm 23. I'm done. So I get off the plane. You know, my father's in Boston, picks me up. And there's one thing that you don't do to an Irish Catholic immigrant Marine is quit.
Sure.
Yeah. You know, I mean, as a military guy,
sure.
you know what I mean? So my old man's looking at me and it's literally my old man is a high D. Like he's not an emotional dude. And I get the slow clap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, great.
There we go.
So I decide right then and there, like, I got to do something or this guy's going to shoot me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, I think I'm going to go to college. So my dad's like, yeah. Right. So I end up going to Ohio State. I ripped through Ohio State as quick as I can as a 23-year-old freshman. I didn't want to be in school at 30 years old. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people go to college for 7 years. They're called doctors and lawyers and loan officers. I was right. So I went to Ohio State. I got an engineering degree. I got back and I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So my dad, when we lived in Mass, our neighbor at the time was a gentleman by the name of Dave Saunders. He's one of my mentors in life. And Dave's an explosive engineer, 4th generation. So he's like, hey, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, why don't you come and work for me? So I go over to the quarry in Elliott. He does a big blast over there, an explosive blast. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. He goes, I can fast track you and get you here in under 2 years. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do this. So I work like 2 days a week for Dave. And then Friday he pays me. And
I'm
like,
losing you in the frame. I need you to slide this way a little bit.
So
there you go.
yeah. So I'm I get paid on Friday. So I'm like, how do I sign up?
Yep.
Because So, you know, a year and a half into that, you know, pyrotechnicians, I'm doing fireworks at the Boston 4th of July. I'm doing Twin Mountain. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, this is super cool, super cool, super cool. My dad, on the other hand, you know, now his career's pretty launched off and he's now not working for somebody. He's not building 1 or 2 homes a year. He's building 30.
Yep.
So my dad's like, hey, I need you to get your real estate license because your mom and I think you'd be good at it. And I'm having an issue with my agent. And I'm like, all right. So I talked to Dave and Dave's like, I think it'd be a cool little side gig. Well, I get the thing. I go to real estate school. I pass the test. I join a local brokerage and I'm hanging out downtown Dover one night and I ran into a couple buddies and Mike LeBlanc and, you know, a couple hockey guys. Brad knows these guys. So I started hanging out with my buddies. Now I'm traveling to Mass every day. I'm doing the explosive gig. I'm coming back home because I moved back to New Hampshire because I was living in Mass for a short period. So I'm doing this back and forth and I'm like hanging out with my buddies and I'm now I'm like 25, 26 and I'm like, you know, I'd like to settle down and have a family and this traveling's starting to get a little old. Yeah. Well, my dad's subdivision kicks off. I put 5 under agreement because it's 2003, by the way.
Sure.
I put 5 houses under agreement and I'm like, this is going to wind up being the same amount of money after I figure out, you know, I'm not traveling. I'm not putting a zillion miles on my vehicle. I am now, but you know, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. So I got into real estate and that's kind of my pathway from hockey through real estate. But what I've always taken was a few things. And I say this in the staff meetings that we were at. I'm able to do my job because you do your job. So, and Brad understands this. Like as a forward, I was a left wing. I mean right wing. I'm a left shot but play right wing. So I'm what's called the off wing. Typically like your striker in soccer. So, because my stick's to the inside. So I know that if when the puck comes out on a certain side, I can take off because I know Brad's going to do what Brad's supposed to do to get me the puck. And you know what I mean? Like you rely on each other to do what you're supposed to do. And then as I get into the explosive industry, that's a job where really like, and all through high school and stuff, I framed for my father and, you know, up on ladders. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, somebody else gets hurt. Right. So in the explosive industry, if you don't do what you do, not only do you get killed, you kill others. Right. So I'll give you a quick scenario. An M80 that you guys all think is so powerful.
That's quarter stick, right?
Yeah, that's an 8th stick of dynamite.
8th stick. Okay.
Yeah, so a stick of dynamite has 237,000 horsepower. So that's like a lot of steam engines for Nate. So you know you realize what you're dealing with, and if it's all done with timing too, like you have to put the squibs in and the timing. So if I'm wrong, not only do I hurt the three of us that are doing it, I'm taking down the building across the street, right? So like Timothy McVeigh used 200 pounds of AMFO. When he took down the Oklahoma building, we were lighting off 30,000 pounds of AMFO, right? So you could do some damage. So I always said, like, you can't screw up in my world. So, and that's kind of been my mindset, like teamwork. I do what I got to do so that you can do what you got to do. You know, the obviously the explosive industry comes into play. There's no mistakes. A mistake means you don't go home. You know, and then, you know, growing up with an Irish Catholic Marine, you get it. There's no mistakes there either. So in my world, there's always been no mistakes. And my dad used to always say to me, if you don't have a strong mind, you better have a strong back. So what I've determined is that, again, I was the athlete. My brother was the genius. So I always deemed myself not as smart as my brother because what am I comparing myself to? You know what I mean? A kid that's ridiculously intelligent. So I always kind of just played the athlete role. Well, as I got older, I started to realize, no, I'm not my brother. You know, I can't read a book and remember it 17 days later, but I'm highly intelligent because of the things I was able to do. But it didn't take me till I was about 25 to realize that. You know, I was always thus saying, give me the puck and watch me do what I do. And then as I got into real estate, I started diving deeper into like making sure my deals don't die. Like, because nothing sucks more than doing a deal and it dies. So I learned real quick, get ahead of it. I learned real quick if I'm having a problem in commission, talk about it at the consult. If, you know, I learned real quick during our era, Brad and I's, you know, during the foreclosure market, you know, what is a pathway loan? What is a 203K, 203B, you know, with these restructure loans? So I put a lot of time into knowing that stuff so that deals didn't die. Because if you got a deal into 2003-4 market, the 9 to 15 market, you didn't want it to die. So I was always that person. And I used to attend contracts class and, you know, hang out with Nate and go to these classes that Nate would tell me to go to. And I'm like, okay, cool. And that's kind of why people always say to me, like, why are you the way you are? It's because my whole life was brought up of, you know, mess up and find out. And we all know the real statement there. But so I was never the type of person that was willing to accept that, you know, and me personally, like, what do I like to do? Jet skis, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers. Like when you're working on those, they got to be right too, you know?
Yep.
So I was always kind of an idiot in a way, but that's kind of me from then to today. You know, as far as my mindset, why I do what I do. But, it's funny, we were in agent orientation yesterday, and the lady that sold us the Gestetner printer was in the room. And the Gestetner printer is a long on-standing joke between me and Brad. And she said it, and Brad just starts laughing. I sold you the Gestetner. And Brad and I started laughing because, like, again, me and Brad Brad was always the mean kid.
Was she in the back left?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I came to Keller Williams, right? So people are always like, oh my God, da da da. So I'll kind of back up to when I joined KW. So I was at a small brokerage. They were 80 agents. So that was a large brokerage at the time, but it's small in today's world. So I meet Nate. So Nate calls me up and he's like, hey, you're doing an open house over there on Waterloo Circle in Dover? I says, I am. He says, I got some clients that want to come by and see it. I says, okay. So he walks through with some clients. And if I had to guess, it was probably his dad. But so Nate comes back and he's like, what time does it end? I says, 3:30, 3:28. I hear the door open, May McCheese walks in. He's got the suit, the wooden heeled shoes and click, click, click across the floor. And he's like, hey, I just want to talk to you. And I'm like, about what? And, I didn't know Nate until that day. I mean, I knew who he was, but that's the first time I ever spoke
Mayor
to him.
McCheese is right behind you if you want to grab it. Right there. There you go.
True. Yeah.
Hold him up for the camera.
Yeah. The suit, the whole nine.
There he is.
Yeah. Just not the top hat.
I told you when Aiden was really little, and this is back at the women's prison.
Yeah.
The first time he ever went into that back corner office.
Yeah.
It was over by the snack
Second
machines.
floor, 2011.
Because we used to go into his office and then crawl out the window.
Yeah.
Right.
Out of the roof. Yep.
Yes. And And so Aiden goes in and pokes his head in, and he comes back out, and he's just like, he doesn't have a cheeseburger. For
Oh, he
the
thought
head
he was
yeah,
like-
yeah, because I
yeah.
kept referring to his name McCheese. I was like, but he doesn't have a
He doesn't even
cheeseburger as
look
a
like
head.
him.
I'm like, no, he doesn't, sweetheart. Sorry.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So at the time, my brokerage was, there's some rumors about it. I'll leave it at that. And turned out to be true. So Nate was like, XYZ PDQ, this is what I got going on. We have this cap. It's an 80-20 split. And back in the day, to hear that, you were like, no way. So I was at Coldwell Banker. My second year was probably my best
Well,
year.
back then it was 70-30.
Yeah, it was 70. Yeah. So I was
It was still great.
I was
Yeah.
I was at a 50-50, and it's a rolling calendar depending. So the best I ever got was like 64, 50, 45. So, and that's closing 30 transactions a year. Solo agent, by the way, new construction. So price point high, my average price point then was 405, but let's remember this was 20-ish years ago. So I'm like slaying the market, and I'm like, that's a good deal. And he comes in saying this, and I'm like, dude, no way.
And what's the catch?
Yeah, go beat it. You know what I mean? So I'm hearing all these rumors about my broker, and all of a sudden, I'll tell you what did it was my old man had a escrow, $50,000 escrow on a piece of land, and that was a lot of money back then. And the deal didn't happen because the land had a lot of wetlands on it, and the seller was like, yeah, I didn't know, and it was amicable. They signed the release, and me being dumb, this is what I thought, and I give it to the office, and 3 days go by. So my dad calls me up, and he's like, hey, did you get that check from me? I was like, I'll check on it. No, it's not ready. So now we're talking about a week and a half. So my old man pulls up in the truck at my office. He's like, get in. And I'm like, oh boy. So he says to me, hey, listen, I'm going to make a little bit of a scene here. I'm not going to lie to you. He said, I'll be professional, but this is Jay. He goes, I need you to understand something right now. This is not how this works. So I'm like, okay. So he walks in. He goes, if you don't have my check by the day's end, you're going to be here for my attorney. And he looked right at me, I swear to God. And he goes, and if you're here at day's end, you don't work for me either. Oh. And I was like, oh, now get in my truck. I'm like, are you going to make me walk home? So on the way back, my dad kind of gave me a little bit of a lesson. He's like, dude, I've been in real estate since 1978. When I kind of went on my own. He said, and escrows don't work like that. That money's not to be touched. And he kind of gave me a little bit of a lesson there. And, and yeah, I know it. But what do we know? And I say this to the agents all the time. If you had to take a real estate exam again, could you pass it? And they're like, yeah. Could you pass a realtor exam?
And then you start popping questions.
Yeah. Then I start asking them questions. They don't know it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and that's where I realized we're playing with some pretty big things for these clients. So I said to myself, if I'm not doing my father a service, who's literally giving me 14 to 20 deals a year, like that's anybody that's hearing my voice right now is like, what? That's a client, right? Happened to be my dad. So, I got a little bit lucky in real estate, and I knock on wood for that. But I said to myself, I can't be going down this rabbit hole because I've surrounded myself with people that are the best in the business. Dave Saunders was at a blasting convention. They said, who's the best blaster in the room? And that's all like real estate agents. And they all stand up and they said, all right, who does this? Who can do that? And people start sitting down, and it was Dave and like four other guys. And he says, no disrespect, but if your name's not Dave Saunders, sit down, because that's the best blaster in the world. Because Dave's won Master Blaster like 14 times out of like the 16 times been given. And I said to myself, if I want to be recognized as that person, as the best, whether it's in Dover, Stratford County, or the state of New Hampshire or New England, I can't have my boat tied to that. So I wind up leaving the brokerage, and they were closed within a year from the state. So it was a really good move. And what did it for me, Nate was my age. Me, Nate, and Brad are the same age. We're all about 6 months. Brad's a couple years younger. Brad's a couple months older than me. Nate's a couple months younger than me. And so I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to just team up with this guy. He seems pretty legit. So I made a few phone calls to people that were working here, and they're like, no, it's true, man. It's this 70-30 split with this cap and da-da-da. And I'm like, and I keep bringing up the 70-30, and I'll tell you why I do that. And I'm like, holy crap. No, you really cap out? I capped out in 3.5, 4 months. And then I met Michael Whitney. And Michael was like, yeah, man, this is the real deal. And I knew Michael when he was at Coldwell Banker with Ross Hoban. And so I joined. So I come over here, and, I'm doing my deals, and, I capped out, I don't know. I joined, and I timed it right. And I don't really want to tell you guys what I did because we don't want you guys doing it. But I made sure I knew more of my houses were closing. I was making sure I was capped during the winter because as a new construction guy, that's just what it was. So I capped out about a month and a half before my annual renewal. So my last 2 checks, I was like,
yep,
I'm going to buy a new car. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it was
You
super
were get
cool.
the fire chicken at that point?
No. The fire checker didn't come till later. So I wind up joining Keller Williams. Well, I am here like 2 or 3 days now, mind you. When I came here, there was about, and Brad was here about a year before me. There was probably 30, 32 agents here, you know, because we always talk about the people that were supposed to come and didn't. And then a couple people joined and left, typical, you know. But I want to say that there was like 32 or 35 agents on board when I joined. And
Jay was part of the expansion when we went to the second floor. So we had the first.
The women's prison, yes.
Yep. So I was there, and Nate's like, hey, and I said, I'm asking the TL at the time, should I take this class? Was it 433, 431, whatever it was called?
Camp 433.
Yeah, Camp 433. Yeah. She's like, no, I think it's a little below you. So I'm like, okay, I won't, because you guys, dude, again, I came from brokerage that offered nothing. So I was like, okay. And then I said to Nate, I'm like, hey, he's like, why are you taking the class? And I'm like, the TL at the time, the TL says I probably kind of below me. And Nate's like, I want you to remember one thing. There's nothing below you. You can learn something from anybody at any time. And bam, he said that. My father kicks in, Dave, every hockey coach I ever had. You know what I mean? So I'm like, so I went, and Shannon was teaching it. So I sat in this class. I'm like, this is some actually really good information. So I took that, and that's what led me to do all the bolds and all the other stuff. Like, anytime you think that you know something, even if you if I go to the New Hampshire Association of Builders, there's going to be people, other agents in there, they're going to talk and be like, wow, that's cool information. So I've always tried to be learning based, and that's something my family's all about doing as well. So when I came here, I was kind of blown away by the education, which was nothing compared to what we offer now because the staff is bigger. But at the time, it was Nate. There was John Duffy was TL.
Yes.
We had an MC, and I can't remember her name, but she was a short brunette. She wasn't here very long. She was a young girl, and she wound up moving with her husband. And then as this company grew, I just watched people come here. Like my entire brokerage, 90% of my brokerage either went here or Monticello that I came from. So I watched Nate build this platform. And it's one of the reasons, like I'm a huge believer in you can do a lot of things as long as you're ethical and your moral compass is strong. And that's like, because I can read through bullshittery pretty quick. And for me, with him, I'm not buddy with, like, Brad will tell you stories about Patriots games, and you can tell you about going on his boat. I can never tell you that story. Nate was always my boss, right, until I became a broker here. And like Nate was somebody I didn't fear, but I wasn't buddy with him because I brought up, you don't commingle with, officers when you're enlisted. And so I was never buddy with Nate, but Nate, his moral fiber always went straight. I may not agreed with everything he did, but he would come in and say, this is where the company's going to go. This is why. And then when he would explain why, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Right. And in the 20, what is this? 06, 20. This will be this is my 20th year. My 20th anniversary just passed my 21st year at KW, go into it. And that whole time, Nathan has never done anything that took money out of my pocket. The only thing he did, and that's why I kept saying 70-30, he changed it from 70-30 to 80-20 and lowered the cap.
Yes.
So he put money in. He said to us, I think you guys should be making more.
May of 2020, May 1st, 2020. Yep.
He's never not done that. He's never not helped with the situation. He's never not done, you know what I mean? Has there been times where he's like, dude, you screwed up? I did.
Most brokerages in that same window elected to move the split temporarily.
Yeah. It was a 6-month deal or an 8-month deal. Yeah.
Very few of them also elected to lower their cap.
Yep.
And I remember getting into it with him and being like, when did we decide we were worth less?
Yeah.
And he's like, trust me. He's like, it's not a race to the bottom. He goes, but this is going to be competitive. It's a competition thing for us. And at the time, the feel good part was going from 70-30 to 80-20 because it put more money in the agent's pocket. And
that's, he's stepped up and, tapped me on the shoulder to get involved in the realtor board. Was a great idea. I was a director 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, secretary, incoming president for 3 years at Stratford County. I did the leadership academy with the NHAR. I mean, all of the stuff that has been blessed in the positive, I would say, professionally has 70% to do with either Nate or Nate's guidance. You know what I mean? Like and that's one of the things where, like, and to this day, I don't have that super close relationship with him. Because what we deal with is usually really bad stuff. But Nate.
Every time I'm in his office, he's mad.
Yeah, every time he sees me, he's like, what's going on? But at the end of the day, like I always believe that if you line yourself with professional people, you'll be all right. And I will tell you, that's why he's been in business 20. That's why Brad has been with us 20 years.
Correct.
That's why Brad has been in business 20 years. Like the people that we align with are not, people that he just wants to hang out and be buddies with. They're actually really good at what they do, and to be able to have that as somebody that it's a business, and that's really hard to teach the agents, is that you have a business, and if you want to do it long, you yourself, me, Nate, we've seen so many people that had so much talent that just fail because they don't want to put the time into it, and I don't mean time as being 20 years. I mean, educating yourself, learning the new contracts, learning like cooperation in this state versus that
just
state.
grinding, just
grinding it. Yeah.
doing the work.
Understanding that, hey, I got to eat a little bit of crow and ask a question. I mean, Brad dragged me into a room the other day and he's like, hey, I want your, as an agent, definition of application. And then he gave me his. And, we had a conversation around it, and it's his, what he, and this is about him, right? This is application for a mortgage is him. It's not me. So when he explained to me his version or his side of it, or what the lenders want requirement in today's day and age, because everything's on Zoom and, they're doing everything like we are with e-sign, it's a different process. So I'm like, that's interesting. We need to bring some of that verbiage that you just gave to the state. You know what I mean? So that's that's the power. And now I would tell you that where I came from, that would have been keep that in your pocket. Don't tell anybody, leverage other buyers when they're doing it or lenders from what he was telling me. You know what I mean? Where Nate, we're like, no, let's go bring that to the state and change the form. Like that's his mindset. Like make it better. Like we all talk about Gary wants realtor on the back of his license plate. But I mean,
Tombstone. He said,
Tombstone. But at the end of the day, like for me, I've met Gary a few times. He's an intelligent man, and I'm not around him enough to think that he's the mecca of real estate. But for me, locally, my career, the mecca of real estate for me would be Nate. You know what I mean? And he will tell you I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I surround myself with the smartest people in the room. He's phenomenal with leverage. He's phenomenal with talent, and he's phenomenal with what he preaches. And that's one of the reasons why I truly stay here. And obviously he lets me yell at people, which I love. But that's that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, what else do you want to know, buddy?
All the things. So for you, I was just talking to JV about this and Kaylee in the last couple of days, and Nathan for that matter. What we all do in our roles is very Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and this could be just a chronological thing for me, but I don't think more than now for me in this whole ride has it been more Groundhog Day than it is right now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very tab A, slot B, wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that way. Like I remember Diana Kokoska saying to us years ago, where I was at a coach's skills camp, and I'm just like, I'm afraid. And all I could think of was when they were saying, Tito was getting fired from the Red Sox. They're like, well, he lost the clubhouse, the whole chicken and beer thing, right? He lost the clubhouse. They weren't listening. And I'm just like, well, okay, they've been listening to me. And I always refer to myself as like the teacher from the Peanuts, right? Like I know that's what 99% of the kids hear every morning,
Yeah.
And she's like, Timothy, you got to remember, she goes, you're going to have a status of agent. Most of your agents who are producers, who you've been around for a while, who have heard you speak, heard you teach, they are not learning necessarily something new from you every day. Your job at that point is just to be reminding them every day.
Yeah.
And she said that, and it was like the next time we went to Mega Chicken, and I always make fun of Darlene for this, so I'm going to do it again. Just did it a couple of weeks ago in Business Planning Clinic. For Darlene Caldwell-Ellis, who's been, I think she was at the Manger with you, right, for the closing.
Yeah.
Right? She was there. She's been in this game for a long time, and she'll still be in the airport, at the airport, after Mega Chicken, after family. She'll be like, you know what, Timothy? I heard Gary say it. Got to just get back to basics.
Yeah, I've heard it's funny. I've heard that her say that.
And I'm like, Darlene had to get on a plane.
Yeah.
Fly down to Austin and have Gary say that on stage. For her to be like, oh, hang on, let me write that down.
Yep.
Back to basics. Everybody get back on the plane. We got to go make calls. So we're gonna be okay with that. But for you
hear that too from him a lot, right? With Gary, like. I remember the first time, I think it was Dallas, the first Dallas trip that we went, like 7:30 in the morning or whatever. Gary's up on stage, right? And he was like, he's like, I'm not going to ever tell you.
Oh,
I'm
the one where
best at
Zola
everything."
spilled coffee all over JV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Yes.
All over her. Anyways, and he was up there and talking, and he was like, "I'm not going to ever tell you I'm the smartest man. I'm the best at things, but I just do one thing, and I do it better than anybody else, and I just keep doing it over and over and over again."
Yes.
And he was talking about making the phone calls. But that's like, it's really if you think about it, if you really boil down any job, it's the same thing. I mean, it's not very often that like we're not like creating the wheel here. The wheel already exists. Yeah, we're learning how to use it, or we're showing people how to use it, or whatever. So sorry.
The only
Timmy,
excitement we get, no, for sure. The only excitement we get is we have 560 agents who are dealing with different properties.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the ingredient that changes. And yes, the families change. Because I'll remember my freshman year, I'm sitting in maybe my second bold, and I'm sitting next to Kathy Rourke, God bless her. And she's like, and she was finishing a call. She hung it up, and she goes, "Oh, my clients." And I'm like, "What's going on?" She goes, "Timmy, I'm going to tell you right now." She goes, "I have bought and sold this house 6 times, and it's never been the same." Right? Because the buyer, the emotions that were the Lindsays were the buyer, they're now the seller. Their blood, sweat, and tears and emotion are in the property, right? And it keeps rolling over. And I'll never forget, she said that to me. The other thing she said to me, she said, "I don't care how late I'm working. I will put emails in drafts. They're not leaving my MacBook at 10:36 p.m. They're leaving it at about 4:45 p.m. She would set them up as drafts in the morning. Because nobody's ever going to wake up and be like, "Oh, she's awake at 4:30. I'll bug her tomorrow at 4:30 in the morning." They'll bug you at 10:30 if they get an email, though. Like those little nuggets. That kind of stuff. But my point in asking the question, or starting the question, the fascination for you, and it could happen for all of us, because Brad will stand up and say X, Y, and Z at an all partners meeting, then somebody will come ask him a question. But where you are offering yourself with contracts on Wednesdays, right? And ask the broker on Monday. And we've got essential forms coming up at 1:30 today, kellertv.com, by the way.
Yep.
And then you get the phone call at 9:38 p.m. and you're sitting at a restaurant with your dessert in front of you, trying to sit with your friends, and the phone rings, and you have every right not to take the call, but if you don't, it's going to JV.
That's right.
And she's hanging on by a thread. Right? So I'm going to take this call, and it's probably going to be a call with a question that I answered Wednesday 9 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
In 3 languages.
100%.
So the tab-based lobby for you gets exacerbated. How do you tune out? Like, and we're going to talk about this Wednesday too. We're doing a panel. JV's going to be talking to some of our top producers just about summer momentum. Like it's not a coincidence that our top producers also make time for their families and vacations. So you punched out. I know you just did your trip to Florida, but when you do step away, or what do you have to do when you're counting to 10? Like I have my little thing that I do between my meetings. Like I give myself like 60 seconds between meetings. Because I have to reset. I could have just had a great conversation with you, but I still have to come in at 0 with my next person and meet their emotion and match it. So when you're like, this is going to be the dumbest question ever, not that you ever say that out loud or in your head, how do you reset and make sure that you're coming in at 0 for the next call?
There's a few things. Like, when I get a call from an agent and I see the name, I'm going to base your call before I even talk to you on who you are. My call with Adam Dow or Troy is going to be a little bit different than somebody that I met yesterday at orientation. So, I tend to have a conversation. Typically, a lot of them, I already know why they're calling or checking up on something or that sort of thing. But if I am at the point where it's been a long day and I need something, the first thing that I always do, 2 things. One, I always try to answer the call. And I'll be very honest with you with that. Something that Nate and Jen do kind of give me some crap about. Because when I was here and we were a smaller brokerage, Nate always took the call. Right? And, Nate would be like, hey, and you could hear him be like, oh, man, what are you doing? Oh, I'm at Disney with my family. And I'm like, dude, go to your family. He's like, no, you're on the phone. What is it?
Yes.
That was Nate. And I always say that, I want the agents today of whatever we're at today, 560, we'll say. I want the 561st agent to have the experience that Jason Westcott had as the 32nd. Right? So, because that is the culture here. So I do that. Now, on the flip side, if I am a 4th of July weekend, I did have a few phone calls and I'm out on a boat. I'm not going to have a conversation around a bad contract that's going on with 5 of my friends that are acting like idiots, probably jumping off of a boat that they shouldn't be jumping off of, with music that is probably not the most professional thing going on, right? For anybody that doesn't know, I'm a
little Billy Squire.
Yeah, a little Billy Squire. Yeah, right. So, you know,
Bottles and James.
What I typically do is not answer that call, but what I will call back the agent when I have a moment, and I'll say, hey, listen, I didn't answer you because of this, and then I do remind them professionally that, you know, it's a Sunday at 9:30 at night, and I'm taking the call because I know you needed some help, but there are no real estate emergencies in real estate.
Before we get started,
There's not.
Yes. Are you on fire?
Yeah.
Is your client on fire? Is the property on fire? Okay.
And
proceed.
I used to be the guy that was kind of like, would challenge people on that. And I'm like, if you think there's an emergency in real estate, I would challenge you. Whatever problem you have, I'll tell you some of the problems I faced in the last 2 months as the broker. And you know what the best thing I can do, and this is, Nate taught me this, best thing you can do with a problem is let it cook. The best stew you ever make sits on the boiler and boils for a minute. Because clients tend to boil, and then as they think about it, they go, you know what, maybe I am wrong.
Yeah.
Or the significant other, whoever that may be, being like, hey, Timmy, you're kind of being an a-hole right now.
No.
Call Jay back and be like, tell him we'll take the deal. And a lot of times they do work themselves out. But yeah, there's a lot going on with click cooperation, all the rest of it. So I do get a lot of mundane Groundhog Day questions.
Yep.
Glad to answer them, because I understand that not everybody can make the classes that we offer. We don't record a lot of them for that, for what I do anyway. I know a lot of the things that you guys do are recorded because of the contracts, conversations, because of the stuff like that. A lot of it's not, so they don't have the ability to sit at home and listen to a video of maybe my contracts class.
Yeah.
So I try to mentally prepare for that. But I would tell you, well, my honest opinion, because Nate and Jen have sat me down and been like, hey, what's the stress level with it? What's this? And God's honest truth, and this is what I say to them, like, I'm not emotionally attached to the deal, because I'll say this, and I'll say this with love, because I always say, if anybody knows me, knows that I always say I'm the broker of truth. I'm not financially and or emotionally attached to the outcome. And I hate to say that, but it's true. I can give the best honest answer because to the agent. Because now when I deal with a client, it's a little bit different. I do try to factor in the agent. But when I give an answer to the agent and it's the right answer, meaning, you know, the deal's sideways and the agent wants to kind of push something, I can give that advice, because you may collect $14,280 or whatever the average GC commission check is right now, but the repercussion of what you're going to get either in a lawsuit or bad marketing, you can spend 50 grand on good marketing and 2 people hear you. Somebody writes one bad Google review or one Facebook post about you, that goes forever. You know what I mean? So I always tell, so for me,
stupid is undefeated.
Yeah, stupid is undefeated. I don't get emotional. And I will tell you, March 1st, 5 years ago, this is my 5th year anniversary as the broker here. So 5 years ago, I would say, if you asked me 5.5 years ago, could I answer that question the same way? It'd be no. I was still a great agent, but I still did bring gasoline to some conversations. But as the broker, I don't, because I go into it. You tell me the problem, I talk to the client. I'm going to tell you the law. I'm going to spit off the RSA. I'm going to give you the VRA, the MRA, whatever state you're dealing with. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to tell you why you can't do what you do.
With our agent, you have to be Switzerland.
Yeah.
Because you have to go in unbiased. And then and then the beauty of this, and I say this to our agents all the time, and even to team leads when they're working with a teammate or a teammate approaching a team lead with a concern. The beautiful thing is we get to go back to the contract. Like, we don't have to be the bad guy in the room. The paperwork is the bad guy in the room, and it represents the truth.
Yeah,
so that makes it.
It's tough when you got, you know, agent, both KW, but I'll tell you, Jen dealt with one. I dealt a little bit with it, but it was agent, you know, next deal was another. So it's like, now it's 3 KW agents. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's only so much I can tell the last one about this deal, confidentiality reasons, and there's only so much I can tell everybody because I'm dual. You know,
the misconception too that you're supposed to be fighting for them, and it's like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be protecting you.
Correct.
But moreover, I'm protecting Nathan because everything happening here is under his.
Yeah, and that's cape. I have to tell the agents that at the end of the day, you know, when we deal with a situation where I'll just say, you're a buyer's agent and you wrote a really bad contract, right? I'll sit down with the agent and I'll be like, listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I can to help you, but this is really not the correct way, and ethically, legally, whatever it is they did. I said, at some point we're going to if the client asks, we're going to be honest, and at some point I have to protect the 500 and other 80 souls here, and you know what I mean? Like, you messed up. And that's where the agents, we try to figure that out. And, you know, when it gets to that, that's when we pull Nate in, because obviously there's going to be some kind of a monetarily debate here.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, I try not to do that. I try not to be the mundane thing. I have, and if Christina Carlton is listening, shout out. I have been in the Meredith office where she'll come into my office and be like, hey, and I'll be like, I'll turn around and be like, what? Because I have no windows. And she's like, you've been on the phone for 5 hours. Go take a walk around the building. Right? Go get me mini bagels. And she doesn't even eat them. But just for me to get out of the building for a second, like you said, and just take that 30-second walk over to Dunkin' Donuts or around the parking lot.
Go air yourself out.
Yeah. Like, because she's like, I can hear when you're starting to get a little frustrated. Like, she's good about that, you know? And Jen, another one, like Jen and Nate, I'll call Jen and be like, 50-second funeral. Here we go. XYZ PDQ. And she's like, da-da-da-da. Like, you know, Jen and Nate are a huge support for me because our role, like, we talk about leadership here, and yeah, we're a massive staff, but what I do, it can only involve Jen and Nate. You know what I mean? Like, I can't come in and say, hey, Timmy, how do I handle this deal? You know what I mean? Like, I can't. And
well, I'd tell you to kill him. So
yeah, you'd be like, well,
hasn't worked out in the past.
The new staircase door is bring them off the top of the building.
There's a new hatch in the ladies' room.
It's beautiful. Yeah, when they switched the other day, I was like, that is nice. But yeah, I mean, that's the mundane thing for me. Like, at the end of the day, like, what I do like is I can, and I have, where Nate has kind of challenged me to learn a lot more stuff. And I've taken that challenge on so that I can say to the agents, you know, Article 9 says this, RSA is that. So again, it's not the brokerage is not the bad guy. Nate's not the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. Kaylee's not the bad guy. These are the laws. You know what I mean? And so for me to be able to do that does help the agents in a way, learn that from their goods and the bads. Now, the only problem that I have with what we do here, and I said it the other day, is we train at such a high level. Our agents, I would say 90% of our agents in this market center are smarter than 90% of the brokers I talk to every day. You know what I mean? And our agents, now they want to be right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you are right, but you're throwing gas. Like, you can't yell at a broker and tell them they're wrong. Yeah, but the law states that I have to do a septic inspection on Lake Winnipesaukee. We know you're right, but they don't. You know what I mean? So it's fun. I truly do love my role. It's probably I always say real estate's my favorite thing I've ever done because it's different every day. This isn't different every day, yet it is, because you do have the emotion of the people. So that's one of my favorite things. Yeah.
I mean, for all of us that were selling, when we stepped away, we had to stop selling. Right.
Yeah.
And my biggest fear was like, oh, but I sort of like the yelling and the screaming and the getting the deal done and all that kind of stuff. But then, like, span of control, military concept, right? Like, you get to step back and, like, now I get to help, you know, I actually, when I took the role, this is an ironic number. When I stepped into the coaching role, we had 222 kids.
No way.
Yep.
That's a
and I think we've gotten as high as like 730
ish. Yeah.
And now we're down to 560. But like, to be able to be a person on this team of us who are helping all those kids, help all those people. And back to something else you just said too. The whole thing about the kerosene, like bringing the flame, the wanting to be right, and the challenge. Right. And I try to remind people of this all the time. I think I would like Gary to switch it from win-win to win-win-win-win. I think we have to understand when the ink hits that purchase and sale contract, we are now working not with, but in concert with the other broker to make sure both of our clients,
correct,
you know, are getting there. And there's a fascination that I feel like this agita builds up. Like, okay, now we're under contract. Like, they're about to ring the bell in the octagon. I know there's no bell. I'm sorry. Is there a bell? I don't even know. I don't watch enough. Anyway, I just feel like people feel like, okay, we're fighting now.
Yeah.
Like, now I have to fight for my client. And again, no. It's protecting your client.
Yeah.
It's not fighting for. It's protecting your client. The whole contract is designed to protect with dates and you know, all the off ramps. You know, so that's always been fascinating. Nate's always talked about that so much, and I've told this story so many times. I remember it was probably my sophomore year. I had some investors. They wanted to see something on Cushing, Nate's old street, by the way.
Yeah, Cushing.
The smallest ranch in America.
Yeah.
And
next to the two biggest houses.
What do you mean your aunt's moving in? Well, and there was something over on Cushing that they wanted to see, and Bev Brooks had it. Bev Brooks, if you don't know, is the nicest human.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she has God online too, and he's waiting, and he's willing to wait.
Very smart agent.
And I got her on the phone, and I was just trying to shoehorn this Cushing listing in this pathway of things I was putting together. Because back then I had MapQuest up, I was feeding the squirrel, lighting the wick.
Yeah.
We didn't have it on our phones, kids. This is Grandpa screaming about uphill both ways. And she couldn't get it done. And I was just so annoyed because they really wanted to see it. I'm like, all right, Bev, thanks a lot. And I hung up. And I'm at home. And Janine's like, did you just hang up on an agent? I'm like, yeah. She goes, you're a dick. And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Phone rings. Bev Brooks. And I picked
Did
up.
she call you on the carpet?
1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
God bless her. And I've been telling this story. My sophomore year was 2011?
Yeah.
Hey, Bev. Hey, Tim. Everything okay? And I'm like, I appreciate your call, Bev. I know exactly why you're calling. I apologize. I said I was just a bag of assholes to you, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, had the whole conversation. She's like, listen, let me make some calls. She called back, got it figured out for me.
Yep.
So whether she was just twisting the wrench, and I don't think she's that person,
No, I
but we
don't
got it figured out.
Yep.
And they ended up actually buying it, which is even more amazing.
Yeah.
Just those kind of people, like if we were ever lucky enough, and she'd be one of those people, and she's never been here, but you know when they bring an athlete back for a one-day contract?
Yeah.
Like I just to have her do her last 12 minutes here.
That'd be awesome.
If we could golden hand off Bev Brooks into this ecosystem, she's such a wonderful person. And I will just never forget that. So we need, as agents, we need to be market leaders at agents and be the person that calls the Tim Lindsay, who's a total jackass in the moment.
Yeah.
And just be like, everything good?
Yeah.
Because I had no reason to be mad at her.
People get hot.
I was
That's
just jammed up. And at the time, I'm cobbling together deals, right?
Yeah.
I'm in my sophomore year just trying to make it happen again. So, and she, totally called me. When I looked down and she was calling, I'm like, oh, baby,
Here
Jesus, here we go. Yep. Hey, Tim, you okay?
You're all right.
The Bev Brooks. Fantastic. What are you most excited about for the industry right now? I mean, there's a lot of things to be concerned about and apprehensive about, but for you, as you look at the agents that are coming in, the agents that we have, the agents that are smart enough to stay, because I know you've heard it a million times. People like, yeah, I'm looking at a few different brokerages. We got that kid who's like shopping around, and I love when kids shop around. And even some of my veteran friends who are at other brokerages said KW is a great place to start. And I'm always like, all right, so you're telling me Prew's too stupid to find the exit.
Yeah.
Adam's not smart enough to, well, Adam might not be able to reach the handle, but Adam's not smart enough to find the exit. Like all these things,
No,
right?
I've
we've
heard
got
it all.
veteran agents who, and when you ask them to a person, what's your biggest regret? They'll say, I wish I got here faster.
Yep.
So with the agent body that we have that's so diverse and so knowledgeable and doing amazing things, you guys are going to hear some of the numbers next Wednesday at All Partners. What are you most excited about for the future of like our brand, Little 463? Because I don't care about everybody else. Hi, Gary. Little 463, and then just the marketplace that we live in the Seacoast. We're very fortunate. Yeah,
super fortunate. I mean, I'll go with the market first. I did a lot of conversations with this as the board president with, the media outlets always reach out to you. And, Nate has always been a great advocate for understanding the market and getting us national information. New England, and more so, I would say the Seacoast, Lakes region area that we primarily serve is so isolated. And few reasons why. If you ever are around a room and you hear Nate talk about new construction, I'll be the first one to challenge him, because I spend a lot of my free time. My family is still in construction of real estate. My dad is retired, but my brother is running a very large company worldwide now, and he sees stuff nation. We talk about it. What we have here is we don't have a lot of inventory, and we talk about this a lot. But what that means is there's not a lot of new construction being built, and you're going to hear it at state level and local level and realtor level that we need to have. Nate will say this. We need to free up the towns and what they require, and I can appreciate that, and I agree with them. The flip side to that is because anytime you look at anything, you got to look at the big picture. When you add more homes to a town, now you have to have more school. Okay, build more schools. Okay, you have to have more police, hire more police, more fire, more hospital. More. That's all fine. But what we seem to forget, just as people, and what the towns worry about, is what's under the ground. And we're in Portsmouth right now. And I will tell you right now, in Dover, for all my Dover peeps right now, shout out to Dover office, they have a water main that's literally on the ground and underneath the driveways on Central Ave. They're putting it in. They're pulling out wooden pipes that were feeding the city of Dover water and sewer lines, because Dover was built and settled in 1623. Portsmouth as well, right? So when you get in an airplane, and I tell people, when you're flying across the country and you look at the eastern seaboard, Boston, Manchester, Miami, right, versus out west, we look like spaghetti. Out west is gridded.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we are so old, we didn't lay out cities in the greatest in, 1620, when John Duffy settled Keller Williams here out of his property.
Yes.
So it's
I
one of-
still have his buckle hat. He gave it to me. Yeah. That's very sad.
so it's well, I don't know if you saw, that was me and Colin announcing Keller Williams is coming. That's what that picture is. Somebody goes, what is that all about? I says, Keller Williams is coming. Should have been me and Duffy.
Lone Wolf is coming.
Yeah, it should have been Duffy. Lone Wolf was
We
coming.
should have put Old Man Duffy.
We
up in
should
the
put
window.
Duffy and say
Yes,
Keller
up in
Williams
the
is
window.
coming. That should be a funny one.
Yes.
Print that shirt. But I tell people, like, the cities worry about what's in the ground because we don't have water.
Yeah.
We for anybody that just dealt with 2 weeks ago with the heat wave, how many people in your town lost electricity? They were calling them brownouts. The infrastructure in New Hampshire is ancient. New Hampshire, Mass, Maine, it's ancient. So if we add another 900 homes to Portsmouth or 9,000 homes to Portsmouth and Dover, you got to understand, when Jay Westcott or Tim Lindsay, the builder, builds a house right there, we're not fixing the power pole. That's on the city, right?
Yeah.
And so how does the city pay for that? They raise the property taxes. And then as a landowner yourself, you're saying in Stratford, I don't want my property tax. So there's this conundrum of that Lady Liberty's doing this. Need more homes. Who's going to pay for it? Da, da, da. So there's a lot to it. And, a lot of the New Hampshire Association of Realtors talk about that. I mean, I'm sorry, the New Hampshire Association of Builders talk about this. And, I speak as a broker there on the broker guild side. So, but it's one of those things where the market, going back to that, I think I think Nate's right. I think we are extremely insulated. If you look at data reports, and NAR gives you this, you look at since 1998, we haven't dipped over a 10-year period. Yes, we dip, but we come back. So I think the market here will always be strong. The affordability is always a problem because as we continue to go up, is employment going up locally? Are people being paid what the average income versus the state is? And the state does this affordability index, and they're screaming no. It's really upside down. As far as agents go, I think that what we need to do is start educating the public that it's not us doing it. You real estate agents are pushing the market. No, it's not. Us real estate agents are selling homes at what the seller determines is market value through a CMA.
And what the buyer decides.
And what the buyer, right, supply and demand. Yeah. And what I always say to people is, if you were to sell your home tomorrow, how much would you get for it? They say, I think my house is worth $1 million. Okay, you should sell it for 700 then. Well, why would I do that? Well, you just told me I'm the one pushing the market. I'm the realtor telling you to lower it 30%. You're telling me no. So we don't push the market. The market pushes itself by the buyer and supply and demand. So I think we need to start educating people truly around why the market's the way it is, and that, your other question was, and I do believe that's, pretty much the seacoast of Maine, the areas that we do serve. Obviously the Lakes region is doing well. Lake Winnipesaukee is a holder. Real estate values are determined by metro cities. So our price point is determined by Boston. It's a drop in the puddle and the wrinkles go out. When it comes to lakefront, our market is determined by Winnie. So they drop Winnie's the big money lake. And that goes over even towards Sebago. So if a $2 million home is in Winnie, they do use that as a comp for Bow Lake and this lake and that lake, right? That's how it's truly done, because that's how appraisers look at it. Now, as far as the areas that we serve, you can look at the state because we do pretty much all of New Hampshire. And as you go north, yes, the price point does lower until you get to NoCo again because you have the seasonality thing there. And then over in the Hanover, Sunapee area where Dan is, you start having secondary home markets there. But I don't think we're going to see a major crash like Houston is going to see and Chicago and Miami. Like they see them first. Yeah. Florida and Houston are the first ones. You watch that market, it's coming. We didn't see that bad of a crash in 2009. Brad will tell you that. I mean, what we saw in 2009 was people not being able to get mortgages because banks were not lending money. Buyers and sellers were still willing to do deals. And you can see that through Nate tracked those numbers. And the numbers of houses that were sold in 2009 versus 17, it was only about 150 difference over the entire year. That's not a lot, when you're talking a couple thousand.
The biggest issue in 2009, too, was the idea that lending was right before that, lending out 100% financing for a song. There was the regulations were a problem. Now, all these properties around us have equity.
Yep.
I wave this flag all the time. If you're getting foreclosed on, you're doing it wrong because you could just sell.
And it's sad because we have agents that primarily do that market, and it's they talk to me and I'm like, is there stuff out there? And they're like, you'd be shocked at how many people are in foreclosure that have hundreds of thousands of dollars of asset, equity. Sell it. But I think as far as the market goes, I think we're going to be good. Now, understanding where the market, me telling you the market's going to be great and you sitting on those laurels is different than understanding the market and how to negotiate through it.
Right.
That's a different conversation.
Yep.
Because I would say the way Troy is doing real estate right now is much different than the way Adam does it.
Yep.
And all in all, they're 55 miles apart. That's not very far, The way we sell real estate here is a little bit different than the way they do on up in Hanover. It's not totally different, but those conversations, those markets they negotiate a little bit different. What is considered normal and industry standard, you know what I mean? And understanding you're the broker, going back to what you were saying, I think that's the deeper conversation where a new agent should probably put their time, is understanding the market they're in, fast track absorption rates, all of that stuff, 100%. But I also think that negotiating contracts, I think, is a really hard point, because going back to what you were saying a little bit, agents want to look good and be right. I've heard you say that 1,000 times, right? We're all good looking. Let's just stop there. But, and most of the time we are right, but winning the battle is not winning the war. And the war is getting to a closing table, right? Because 9 times out of 10, when I get involved and I say to a client or a seller, do you want us to push back and get your $5,000 back, or do you want to see if we can get you a closing table? They're always, no, we really want the home, right? So I think that's the bigger picture when it comes to what you should be doing as an agent. I think the market's going to be, I can't look into it. If I had a crystal ball, we'd all be rich because I'd give you guys all the information. But I think at the end of the day, I think we're heading, I think the next 10 years will be like the previous 10 years, to be honest with you. I think it's going to go up. That's just,
which is unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It always goes up, right? We're back. So the big thing is during COVID was an anomaly, right? But I remember back to listening to, Gary and stuff. I remember they were going through the numbers. I think it was a couple family reunions ago that Jay Papasan, like they always talk about that 3 to 4% increase, right?
Yeah. That pink line.
And he actually did something that like blew my mind. He was like, you see this blip for COVID? He's like, where it went up, 20, 30%, whatever that number was. If you cut that off at 4%, and you stuff it into the hole that was 08, 09, it completes the chart at 3 to 4%.
Yeah.
Like it's a flat line,
they call that a cut and fill.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically, we caught up during COVID of what we lost back then, but it's still, the market's still moving at that, 3-4% number. And it's safe around here, because of the lack of inventory.
And you going back to the conversation when you were talking about interest rates, Brad, I always remember Nate. If you guys ever hear Nate talk about his elevator, you got to get on real estate today.
It's a lift. Oh, I thought you meant here.
Yeah, it's a lift. Yeah. So you got to get on real estate today, because, if you're going to stay in today's market, and Brad's right, and if you go look at the stats, we're not making this up, the state will prove this, over a 10-year period, real estate goes up. So if I'm going to be here and I'm like, Timmy, I don't want to buy today because the average price in my town's $570 and Brad's telling me mortgage rates are mid-6s, I'm going to wait. Well, that price point's not stopping. Now you're the gap that you get. So if interest rates go to 3, your payment's going to still be $7,000 a month, because you're paying another $100,000 for the home.
Yeah, the principal.
And you're not going to be able to compete, because we're going to be back to where we were in COVID when you had to buy with cash.
And that's not a new thing.
Yeah.
Right. My brother was one of the head engineers at Cabletron. He was second under Chris Oliver and I know Brad worked there, so Brad knows who Chris is. My brother solved a major problem for Cabletron back in the day. That's where he got most of his money. And it's funny, he sold his stocks about 6 months before it crashed. I'm not saying anything happened, but but there's that. So, but
he could have called me.
Yeah. So my brother bought a house, right, when he first got back. He got out of the Marine Corps, blah 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 blah, bought a home, and then sold, said, lived in it for a while, and then he built a new home. And my sister, I have a sister that's 12 years younger than myself, and my sister was with her high school boyfriend, now husband Zach, which I know you know Zach, and she says, this is what I want, and they were like 23 years old. And my brother looked at both of them and said, I'm going to be very clear. If this is your end game, 6-bedroom colonial, you better start buy real estate today. You better go grab Jay and tell him to sign a buyer agency and go buy whatever you can, because you're not going to buy this today. You have to go buy a He's like, I didn't buy this today. Yep. I bought a ranch, and then I bought this, and then I built this. And my brother said, during that time, the market went through the roof. So my sister said, all right, so my sister bought a condo, and then she bought a second home. Then she rented for a year. She bought another home, sold that, and now my sister's in a brand new home over by Brad in Nottingham, and in-ground pool, the whole nine. She built that in 2018. My sister's 38 years old. So it's one of those things where you got to, and I'm watching Nate tell the story, and that whole time I remember my brother doing this. You got to buy this to buy that, and then sell this to buy that. And Nate's talking the staircase, this elevator thing, and I'm like, here are two people that one is highly into the real estate world nationally, right? Nate is very into the information. My brother's just a smart dude that just says, hey, I know how to make money and use my money the best way. And they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Two different platforms, but the same message. So I think that, if you are out there with people right now, I think ADUs, I think multifamilies, I think putting people in with their parents is, I'm building a house right now with a multifamily it's an ADU. It's not a multifamily. I can't call it that because of the town. But my parents will live on one side of it, and when my parents aren't there, I'm gonna rent it out to a nurse or grad student or something at UNH. But it's one of those things.
What's her name going to be?
What's that?
What's her name going to be?
Yeah, right. A cinnamon. Cinnamon. But at the end of the day, you can't. If you think you're going to go out and buy a home in Portsmouth because the average price in this town's pushing $1 million, according to what was an MUR the other night, and you're a younger person or you're downsizing.
Yeah.
Right? Because people are like, oh, I'll do it when I downsize. Well, the 30% you're gaining is the 30% you're paying.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So just get people into real estate, whether it's the multifamily, the condo situation, a mobile home. Start talking about real estate with anybody and everybody.
I know you're a huge proponent of people being on the board, Britt, and Nathan's always saying that we need to make sure we are always a pain in the ass at all of our boards.
Yep.
So we are flooding the boards with Keller Williams and our knowledge and our ability to dial up the conversation and create the dialogue for our industry. And the other thing Nathan always says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Yep.
And this, in the same way, I think if you have a buyer right now and they're very concerned about their McMansion or the house of their dreams, and it's just not, the wires aren't touching, get them to just get 5 cards in their hand and get to the table so they can be part of the conversation, and they will figure out a way to your point, change their hand and move up and move up and move up and move up.
Yep.
But people that we're going to have a generation of people that do not get into a home because they were waiting for the perfect moment, and that never arrives. There's going to be, and we're not telling to people that they need to just go buy for the sake of doing it. Gary said it. People are going to buy, sell, or invest when it's appropriate for them. It's our job to help them make the decision that it may not be perfect, and it also may be appropriate.
Yeah.
And making sure that they connect those dots. We are going to jump. You have to go back into hair and makeup at 1:30. It's just about 12. At 1:30, Jason's available for Essential Forms, or KWCLM Forms, I should say. I was saying that wrong. KWCLM Forms is today at 1:30. I was saying Essential Forms.
No, it is Essential Forms.
It is
You're
Essential
correct.
Forms.
Yep.
Oh, I'm making stuff up. Okay.
Today's New Hampshire. It's going to be on the purchase and sale agreement. We try to go over just basically the offer side, offer and a few addendums. And then next week will be the listing with some of the paperwork. And the week after that's we rotate to 3 so that it's a great opportunity for our newer agents to be able to ask questions and not feel intimidated as a contracts class with a mega agent asking an in-depth question.
That is today at 1:30, kellertv.com. Brad Kelly and his team available to help you with your questions and helping your clients get into the house of their dreams, or the acceptable house, the appropriate house. Maybe not the perfect house, the appropriate house. You can reach out to Brad and his crew. It is himself and Kelly and, of course, Benjamin. 603-396-3198. He is up by the brewery this weekend, so I don't know if he's going to take all of the calls.
I'll be back tonight.
He'll be back tonight. So please call Brad
real quick,
for sure.
Real quick, you guys. I think you said something about all partners being next Wednesday, isn't it? 2 Wednesdays from now? 22nd?
Next Wednesday? Am I making things up?
I think it's in my calendar. It's the 22nd.
Yeah, it's the 22nd.
Is it?
Right.
I'm making things up. I
our
apologize.
contract.
I don't know why.
I didn't want a bunch of people. We've got a large audience here that's watching us, so I didn't want them all to show up next Wednesday.
Wow, Brad. Wow, Brad. There it is. Everybody, thank you for hanging out. This was on Facebook Live and the YouTubes. Facebook Live will kill these videos in 30 days, so that's why we also put it on the YouTube. The Jason Westcott, thanks for hanging out, buddy.
No,
we'll see you guys in and around the Market Center and the internet. Take care.